Hello, welcome to Useful Idiots. I'm one of your hosts, Katie Halper, and this is the other host, Aaron Maté. And I'm going to introduce him today. You know why? Because I need to tell everyone something about this guy. It was X years ago today that Ray Maté brought Aaron Maté into this world. In other words, it's Aaron's birthday today. Aaron
That's
Maté's
right.
birthday. Happy
That's right.
birthday.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you for that. Thank you.
How does it feel?
It's good to be here.
On
I'm
the
happy to
show
be
and
here.
on this earth?
Yeah, show and the earth. Yeah,
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 nice.
yeah. And I'm going to tweet this out right now just to
Oh
make
yeah,
sure
do it. Yeah, let's do
everyone
it.
can join the celebration.
Yeah, this is a birthday. This is Aaron's birthday party.
Yeah.
Aaron's having two birthday parties today. This is the party, and then we have the after party at Colin. The link is in the chat, and of course, that's when we take your calls, and everyone can wish Aaron a happy birthday. In fact, that's
Please
what we
don't.
should do the entire call-in.
Please don't.
I don't want anyone to call in
Yeah.
without starting off by wishing him happy birthday.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, it's also post Oscars Day.
It is post Oscars Day.
And
So
I know that you had your eye on a number of the pictures that were nominated.
I did.
What did you think? Were you happy with the results?
No, not really. I saw all of the Best Picture nominees except for Women Talking, which did win for screenplay. I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once. I thought it was a little overrated. It won, spoiler alert, it won like everything. Best Picture, it won Best Actor, Best Support Actor for Michelle, Best Supporting for Jamie Lee, Best Supporting Male for the actor whose name I forgot, who's in Goonies. That's what he'll always be to me. It's the star of Goonies. And Tar was robbed. Tar should have gotten something. It's like, I don't like how the Oscars, the way that they award things, it's kind of like the economy. It's like the 1% gets everything. And then the 99% doesn't get anything. They could like sprinkle it around more. You know what I mean?
But who are the plebes in this scenario? Like, who would the 99% have been to?
All the other movies.
All the movies, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So the elite got too much of a share of.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's. I think Tar was amazing, and I think Triangle of Sadness was amazing.
Well, I can't wait to watch all these movies one day. I heard that the Banshee movie everyone loves that movie. You don't like it?
I liked it okay. Brianna Joy Gray and I actually talked about this in one at Katie Halper show, Patreon only, which is of course available. But yeah, neither of us really liked it. It's like very good, but we didn't care. The thing is, we didn't care about the characters, and I got kind of bored with it. So that's my very hot take.
Well, there's your Oscars recap, everybody.
Yeah, because we give you everything here. We give you pop culture, politics, and we give you birthday updates.
That's right.
Do you share your birthday with anyone famous? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
not aware of. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, what is today's date? Actually,
it's the 13th. Good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe I'm the only one.
Well. You are joined by famous people. I have no idea who these people are. I looked it up. Oh, Common.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, you've got something in common with Common.
Okay, that's cool.
William H. Macy also. Yeah, basically I feel very old and out of touch because he's basically the only person on this list.
Well, I'm honored to be joined by such distinguished gentlemen, and
yeah.
I wish them happy birthday. I'm sure they're tuning in right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah.
All righty. Well, what a week it was. And
and really quickly, sorry, I just got to say really quickly. Make sure you join for Aaron's birthday. If you're watching on YouTube and you like Substack, make sure you join our Substack. We got great exclusive content there, including extended interviews and, of course, our Thursday Throwdown. And this week we'll be talking about the Twitter files. So you'll all want to see that. And also, if you're more into locals, you can join us on Locals. So that is usefulidiots.locals.com or usefulidiots.substack.com. And please do like the stream. It's the least you could do for Aaron's birthday. Yeah.
Yes. What a birthday treat that would be if you could
Yeah.
just like the stream. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a big week. We had one of the biggest in fact, the biggest bank failure since 2008 with the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. And the Chuckster, Chuck Todd, is here to give us a recap.
Yep.
And a good Sunday morning. It was a week, to borrow a phrase, of everything, everywhere, all at once. Global instability and threats to democracy at home. And it ended in the second largest bank collapse in U.S. history. All of it adds to the uncertainty many Americans have been feeling for a few years now. Around the world, Iran and Saudi Arabia agreed to restore ties in the Middle East in a deal brokered not by the United States, but by China. And it happened just as our nation's top intelligence leaders testified that China is, quote, the most consequential threat to U.S. national security.
That's because China is brokering peace deals.
Right.
And
right.
that's a threat.
It is a threat to America.
Yes, that's a big threat. Before, I mean, remember, we covered this, how China was being accused of potentially arming Russia, and that was after they were putting out a peace plan for Ukraine. So they were a threat because they were putting out a peace plan in Ukraine, and now they're a threat because they're brokering peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Right. Which, as we all know, does threaten the agenda of the West. And we know that from all the times that the United States or England have intervened. And these are just the times that we know of. So there are many more times behind the scenes that they've intervened to cockblock peace.
That's right.
That's what they call it in the diplomatic world. Yeah. CBP. We call it CBP.
Cockblocking peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On our southern border, the kidnapping of 4 U.S. citizens in Mexico and murder of 2 of them just over our border raised tensions on the charged issue of border security, prompting calls for President Biden to try to crack down on cartels. And there are real questions about whether the Mexican government can be a partner in this. Then there's the threat to democracy here at home. The Republican divide on the Capitol attack broke open again this week after Fox host Tucker Carlson presented an alternative reality of the insurrection, falsely describing it as mostly peaceful chaos. And he ended up showing footage that was provided exclusively to him by the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Republican senators called the broadcast normalizing the attack a mistake, dangerous and disgusting. One even used an expletive. But many House Republicans, they defended the broadcast. But the biggest political story of the year kicked off in Iowa as the co-frontrunners for the Republican nomination took their campaign there for the first time. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis testing his retail campaigning ability on Friday, and Donald Trump holds an event in Davenport, Iowa tomorrow. And guess what? Later in the week, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has held a day for Donald Trump to be in front of the grand jury there, where criminal charges for Trump's role in the payment of hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels could be coming any day now. And how will voters and Mr. Trump's opponents respond to a new label, indicted former president, if indeed the Manhattan DA does move forward with those charges?
How many times have we heard that Trump is about to face charges? You know, if indeed Trump does face charges. How many times have we heard this?
Donald, the walls are closing in. Trump.
The walls are closing in.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think most Americans care. I mean, they've shown this by now about Trump's paying hush payments to Stormy Daniels. Like, we've done that one. Like,
yeah,
the verdict is in. Most people don't care about Trump violating campaign finance laws or whatever it is to pay the woman he was having an affair with. I think that's pretty established. But
yeah,
the media is different.
You know, it's really disturbing watching all these people like slut shame her. All these, liberals, Trump haters.
Sure. Yeah.
Never a good look, guys.
Yeah. But also, like, this story is like 6 years old now. I mean,
yeah.
I just don't think it has the staying power that people in media think it does. But, hey, that's why we're here and they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're going to turn our attention to the bank failure. Silicon Valley Bank became the second largest bank in U.S. history and the first since the financial crisis in 2008 to fail. The bank is small by comparison to the nation's largest banks. It held just $209 billion in assets compared to more than $3 trillion at J.P. Morgan Chase. But its implosion did set off a wave of concern, not just about the banking sector, but about how venture capital firms behave in Silicon Valley, and that sent some stocks tumbling. The Biden administration tried to remain calm about all of this on Friday.
When banks experience financial losses, it is and should be a matter of concern.
With the reform.
By the way, I'm always distracted by Janet Yellen because she's so charismatic. I can't help but, whatever I'm doing. Aaron, you're muted. Oh, we wanted to hear that great laugh that we lost out on, but we saw Aaron laughing. If you're listening to this later, just know Aaron was laughing. Yeah,
I chuckled. I definitely chuckled.
You chuckled, yeah.
Didn't she go to school with our friend Richard Wolff?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to her for the very thick New York accent.
Yeah,
I'll give her that much.
She did just go to Ukraine to promise them billions of dollars in U.S. support.
There you go.
So hopefully she can prioritize these depositors at this bank the same way she did people in Ukraine.
Yeah, definitely. She's from, by the way, she grew up in Bay Ridge.
Okay, all right. Okay.
In terms of the global financial crisis of 2007, 2008, we've put in place stress tests and other tools that our regulators have to provide more resilience to our banking system.
We'll get into this, but not enough stress tests, really. We'll get into that, but spoiler alert, not enough tools.
All right. Well, here is Janet Yellen herself speaking about this failure of Silicon Valley Bank.
Have you also ruled out that kind of government intervention?
Well, let me be clear that during the financial crisis, there were investors and owners of systemic large banks that were bailed out, and we're certainly not looking, and the reforms that have been put in place means that we're not going to do that again, but we are concerned about depositors and are focused on trying to meet their needs.
Do you expect a deal or something to happen that can reassure the markets before Asia opens tonight and U.S. markets open tomorrow?
We certainly are working to address this situation in a timely way.
Again, you get that sense of urgency, just the way she's speaking. You can really see how important this is for her.
Well, they have announced a plan, and from what I can tell, it isn't actually a bailout of the kind that we saw back in 2008. So, like the bank's management, they're not going to get, as far as I know, and this is not my forte, but the bank's management, they're not going to stay on. The depositors will be reimbursed, but apparently not by U.S. taxpayers, but from a fund paid for by U.S. banks.
Right.
So they're saying that that's why this is not a bailout. But other people are arguing that this is indeed a bailout. But regardless, they're claiming they're doing things differently than how they did in 2008.
Yeah. What we can be sure of is that many of the people clamoring for a bailout are the same people who oppose bailouts or any kind of social spending for the plebes.
Right.
I mean, that you could do an entire mashup video of these guys.
Yeah.
Who oppose like student debt relief. The same people who are totally embrace austerity for everyone, but the 1% want.
Yes.
They're social. They like corporate socialism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the 1%, the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank is a guy named Gregory Becker. And I don't know, this could just be a coincidence, but like weeks before his bank collapsed, he sold millions of dollars worth of stock in his bank. So he got out at the right time, obviously.
Yeah.
So here's Congressmember Ro Khanna speaking about that.
Yesterday, the government also needs to investigate short sales by corporate executives. That's betting a stock price is going to go down. Bloomberg also reported that the CEO of SVB Bank, Gregory Becker, sold $3.6 million of stock the day before the company collapsed.
So not even
the day before.
Not even weeks before.
Wow.
The day before. I was going to say that would be
Yeah. Good timing.
Yeah. Great timing. It makes it even more. It makes him even more lucky. Yeah.
Exactly.
But honestly,
do you think
he's so prescient about the market.
Exactly. Right.
That really he shouldn't lose his job. He should be rewarded for having the foresight to see that his own bank would collapse.
Right.
and profiting off of it. I mean, like, you want someone like that handling your money.
Yeah, that's why he's in business. That's why he's in the biz that he's in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heard here.
Well, first of all, we need all the facts. I do think that money should be clawed back and used for places like Silicon Valley Community Center in my district that has money that
Clawed
they
back
can't
from
get.
the CEO, who you know.
Clawed back from the CEO, who I've known. But whether there was something nefarious or not, look, you know 10b-5s where they have to make the sale years before
Regulatory
or monthly
filings. I see
month
what you're
before. So I don't want people to jump to conclusions, but I do think all that money should be clawed back and given to the depositors.
Yeah, Ro kind of represents Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
The area. So he's in a tough spot here. But
Yeah.
there it is. Yeah.
There it is.
Well,
but at least he's calling out whether or not it's nefarious.
Yeah. Yeah. And here is more from Rokana.
More.
He wants some more clarity.
What you make of the Treasury Secretary's remarks? I know you've been in contact with the White House, with Treasury, and with FDIC.
I have great respect for Secretary Yellen, but I think we need to have more clarity and greater strength in what Treasury is saying. First, the principle needs to be that all depositors will be protected and have full access to their accounts Monday morning.
All depositors, meaning those with accounts bigger than $250,000, which is the cutoff for insurance right now.
Yes, all of them. There's precedent for this. Chair Powell, when he was at Treasury in 1991, the Bank of New England collapsed. And Chair Powell said that Treasury coordinated with FDIC and with the Fed, and they insured every depositor then. And why did they do it? They didn't want a regional run on the banks. Here's what I'm hearing from people in my constituency. They are getting notes to pull out of regional banks, and all of this will be consolidated in the top 4 banks. We don't want that as a nation, especially if you're progressive. The other thing is the payroll companies that are involved. Some of them have 400,000 folks. They're not going to be able to meet payroll if they don't have access to the deposits.
Okay, Ro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
It really is important to mention the fact that, what's so funny is that, and if you want to see good coverage of this, The Intercept has it, and The Lever, and also the AP, American Prospect, and you can look at David Dayen's coverage. But basically, all the lobby groups for SVB fought proposals that would have, in large part, prevented this. They fought proposals requiring financial institutions to increase payments into the deposit insurance fund that protects depositors from bank failures. So not surprising.
Yeah.
Infuriating, but not surprising.
Well, Katie, you think that's part of the problem here, but Congressmember James Comer of Kentucky, he has a different theory on what really is the problem here.
Yeah, right. This is very important. Yeah.
And then we see now coming out that they were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy.
Let's hear it one more time because this is really important.
And then we see now coming out that they were one of the most woke banks in.
There we go, Katie. They're one of the woke banks.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
I don't know what that means. What does it mean to be a woke bank? But anyway, let's hear him explain.
Their quest for the ESG type policy and investing, this could be a trend, and there are consequences for bad Democrat policy. And I think we need to keep an eye on all the banking sector right now.
Well,
so ESG is environmental, social, and governance.
Oh, okay. So that was the problem.
The problem is that these people pay lip service to these things. Yeah, because but that's obviously. That's what the right wing and DeSantis et al. Are talking about this as a woke problem. And what ESG means is that you take into account climate risks and social issues when you're doing what you're doing. But I don't really think that this was what was behind what we saw with SVB. In fact, I'm sure it wasn't. Yeah.
Well, invest in social consciousness at your own peril, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Your bank could collapse. And by the way, the term woke is it's totally been appropriated from Black culture.
Of course,
it's so Anyway, but we're actually going to hear.
Yeah, but what does it mean, Aaron?
What does it mean? Well,
can you tell me?
Let's hear a Meet the Press panel try to grapple with this question.
Woke issue, Mariana. Yeah. It's the only thing that keeps Republicans united, whatever it means.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, you ask them what does woke mean, and they really can't give you a firm answer just because what does woke mean, right? And I think the interesting thing about DeSantis, too, is, yes, he's been able to do all of these things in Florida, but the closest lesson we have is the midterms, where we saw in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, key swing states, a lot of Republicans or Republicans who went independent or even moderate Republicans saying, I don't want Trump. I don't want someone who's acting like Trump. I just completely reject this extremism, which, to your point, Democrats are totally looking forward to have that debate and frame both of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a funny. I mean, if you're going to talk about the term woke on TV, you should just acknowledge it was appropriated from Black culture. The idea of staying woke, like staying conscious and staying aware of who is a threat, who is the oppressor. And just note that it's been totally reappropriated to now mean something different, which is identitarian politics, basically.
You think you're surprised that Chuck Todd didn't do that, Aaron?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not surprised Chuck Todd didn't do that.
Oh my God! Speaking of money and I gotta say, Linda Gomez, thank you on behalf of Aaron for your very generous super chat and
thanks,
your message. Linda. Long happy life to you, Aaron.
I appreciate that. That's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, going back, Katie, to what you're talking about in terms of how people were opposed to bank regulations that could have perhaps prevented the Silicon Valley Bank debacle. There's Democratic Senator Mark Warner.
Look at this. This is kismet. Look at this. Yeah. Right as we're prepping for the Mark Warner clip, check out Mark Warner's role in SVB lobbying.
There we go.
And we're going to get to that right now. Yeah.
That is a very prescient chat. So thank you for that.
You should be running the SVB. You're so prescient.
Yes. Well, he was asked about this.
Short selling.
Mark Warner was asked about this by Martha Raddatz.
After the financial crisis in 2008, regulations were put into place to make sure banks could weather large losses. Under President Trump, some of those were rolled back. And in 2018, you were one of only 17 Democrats who voted for the bill that rolled back some banking rules, including for institutions the size of Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank was under closer watch, closer scrutiny before that bill was signed into law by President Trump. Do you regret that vote?
Martha, I still think.
And by the way, he was one of the few Democrats who
made that
vote.
Right.
I believe it's a minority of Democrats who.
Yeah, there were 17, I think. She said, there were 17.
I think we put in place Dodd-Frank. I was proud to be one of the key authors of that bill. It strengthened the banking system. I do think these mid-sized banks needed some regulatory relief. End of the day, Martha, no matter what the capital had been in this bank, if you don't get banking 101 straight, if you don't manage your interest rate risks, if you've then got to run at $42 billion in a single day, unprecedented. We'll have time to look back on what the regulators did and didn't do and why the bank management didn't get this right. Banking 101, managing interest rate risks, what we've got to focus.
He said banking 101 twice. So he's like, we'll have time to look back at the extent to which deregulation, which I voted for, played a role. But for now, we got to learn banking 101, and regulation obviously is not part of banking 101.
No, not at all. Right. And banking 101, so important. You got to say it. So nice. You got to say it twice.
Like if you take banking 101, they don't even talk about regulation. Like you don't get to that until you get to the advanced
banking
level.
107.
Yeah, banking 107 at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he should have said banking 101 and banking 102 because he did mention it twice. So unless you're supposed to take banking 101 twice, which he probably should have taken.
Banking 101 is or like banking like regulating banks is at the graduate school level. It's like it's theoretical. It's theoretical. It's very abstract. It doesn't really apply to the basics of banking.
Right. It's like Foucault. It's the economic Foucault. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Focus on right now is how do we make sure there's not contagion and at the same time, believe that the SVB can be acquired. Remember, this has got a good book of business. This has got startup companies all over the country, and that is going to be a valuable asset to somebody who's going to.
You don't regret that vote.
Listen, I think that was called the 2155 bill, I think it put in place a appropriate level of regulation on mid-sized banks.
It absolutely did not, but also he's just stalling for numbers and words, which is why he tells us what the bill is called. Like, who cares? It was called the 2155 bill. Thanks for that. And also he had to say banking 101 twice. All of this is because he can't actually say, I do regret that, or I don't regret that. Yeah.
He's like, first of all, Martha, let's say her name. Let's say the name of the banking bill. It's called the 2555 bill. Okay, exactly. Show some respect.
Yeah.
The bill is called the 2555 bill.
Yeah.
Okay?
Rude.
Yeah. How dare
wow. How that's some erasure. Martha.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what made Mark Warner vote that way. Any ideas, Aaron?
He is a wealthy member of Congress. He represents Virginia, a lot of wealthy people in his district, and they don't want bank regulation.
Right.
You know, he's always been cozy with. He mentioned voting for Dodd-Frank, and Dodd-Frank, remember that, like, that was billed as some huge overhaul of banking regulation, but it was totally gutted by the time it went through.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, I think that there's also a tweet that we could turn to that provides us some explanation here.
Oh, yes, there is. That's right.
Let's hear what David Sirota had to say about this at the Lieber.
Yes.
The president of Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, held a fundraiser at his home for, drumroll please, Democratic Senator Mark Warner, before Warner then voted to deregulate Silicon Valley Bank.
And I wonder if it was the same guy who just made out with $3.6 million in stock after he sold it the day before. We'll have to check that.
I believe it was.
But I wonder if that is a factor. I think that's a fair. It's a fair question.
I don't know. It may have been his intense study of banking 101.
Yeah.
Could have been that too. Yeah. By the way, a lot of people, just a little thing to put in here. A lot of people were asking earlier on that they wanted coverage of Israel, and sadly, we can't cover Israel right now because we're covering the media, the Sunday morning news shows that we watch so that you don't have to. And guess what? Shockingly enough, they did not cover this. But if you are interested in Israel-related news, got to point out the fact that friend of show and former guest, and I'm sure we're going to have him on again, Roger Waters of Pink Floyd, had his concert in Germany, which people had bought tickets for already, had his concert in Frankfurt canceled by Germans because he's, allegedly an anti-Semite. And you can sign a petition. And this is, I'm going to put the link in the chat, but you can indeed sign a petition calling on Germany to uncancel Roger Waters' show. And it's so outrageous that Germany is doing this. It's obviously outrageous for people like Roger Waters, who is a major supporter of Palestinian human rights and a critic of Israel. And you can sign this petition that, guys, we got Susan Sarandon, Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, David Cross, trying to think of Gabor Mate, Anwar Hadid, Muhammad Hadid, as in Bella and Gigi's dad and brother. But I just want to point out to people that this is ridiculous. And Germany is so entitled, so like the gall of Germany to be canceling anyone over anti-Semitism, including, by the way, an amazing visual artist and photographer, Adam Brumberg, who is Jewish. Can you imagine the chutzpah, so to speak, of these Germans canceling a Jewish artist over alleged anti-Semitism? And of course, that anti-Semitism is respecting and advocating for the human rights and rights of Palestinians. We interviewed him on the Katie Halper show too, but
support Roger. That is a ridiculous story, getting banned from performing a show. By the way, his show is amazing. And
it is really great. This is not a drill.
Local authorities in Germany are denying people an amazing experience, and that's just over his support for Palestinian rights. That's just ridiculous. And well, meanwhile, I did look it up, and yes, so the fundraiser like the SVP executive who held the fundraiser for Mark Warner is indeed that same CEO who made $3.6 million selling the stock the day before the collapse.
Yeah.
So
Gregory.
Yeah. Becker, whatever his name is.
Yeah. Becker. Yeah.
Yeah. So Greg Becker. Yeah. Gregory Becker. That's right. So anyway, great job, Mark Warner. And good job avoiding the question.
I think I've told you this before, not sure, but I used to go to Netroots Nation, hard to believe. And that was started by Marcos Mulitsas of Daily Kos. And I, at one point, would do stand-up there, and I would MC some stuff there. And I once introduced Mark Warner. I believe we kissed on the cheek.
Okay. All right.
I feel like I have to come clean about that. I mean, it was in public. It wasn't like behind the scenes. I introduced him, and he hosted a party at Netroots Nation, and it had I got to give him a shout out. It had a chocolate fountain.
Well, maybe the Silicon Valley Bank guy paid for that chocolate fountain. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to a question that Mark Warner's comfortable with, and that is the question of TikTok and whether or not it should be banned.
And you know what? I'm really proud of Martha Raddatz, because this used to be just mostly Jake Tapper's beat. He loves asking people if TikTok should be canceled. I think in part because his kids used it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they hate China, so they hate their kids and they hate China. So it's a perfect combination. No, I shouldn't say they hate their kids.
No, I'm sure he's a loving father.
Yeah. All right. So Mark Warner was asked about TikTok.
Quickly, do you think TikTok should be banned?
Absolutely. This is literally 100 million Americans are on TikTok an average of 90 minutes a day. That data is residing in China, no matter what TikTok says. And the truth is, TikTok can be used as a propaganda mechanism for the Communist Party of China. That, I believe, is a national security concern. But what we need, though, is a rules-based approach that doesn't simply single out a single application, because it was Huawei, the Chinese telecom company earlier, TikTok today. There will be other technology applications. We need a rules-based approach that will look at this foreign-based technology from China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and say,
thanks,
we've got to have the tools to make sure that we can take them down.
Okay.
Aaron, you know what this makes me realize more than anything else? We need to be on TikTok.
Yeah. The problem is I've heard so many, horror stories about TikTok and how it sucks you in, and all that stuff. And I don't know if I want to give myself over to one more platform, but
it's true.
I mean, what's crazy about it, it's like these people all claim to love the free market, but yet every time there's something that comes along that competes with the US, they want to shut it down. So TikTok has done well, and because it's owned in China, they want to just shut it down.
Well, Aaron, I think that what you're talking, it's the communist China suckage.
Yeah. Well, someone who knows a lot about that, who has some advice on how to handle Communist Party of China TikTok suckage, whatever the term is the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, and she has some advice for parents dealing with kids who are on TikTok.
Yeah, and by the way, I would just urge people, if you're a parent, please record this or watch this back, because it's so helpful. And if you know a parent, call them up right now. Make sure they tune in, because there's some really helpful information on the way.
What about that? What about that app? What do you want to say to parents who may have their kids have TikTok on their phone? You've banned it on government devices, but how much of a threat is it to ordinary American families?
Sit your kids down, have a conversation. Tell them to knock it off. Tell them they slept in their beds last night safe and secure because of sacrifices that were made for this country, and that to respect that, they should not allow our enemies to come right into their homes and to manipulate their thoughts and their minds and how they feel.
So I just want to say, let's practice this. Hey, Tommy, you slept well last night, didn't you? Do not allow the enemy to come into our homes. You are letting the enemy in. I think that'll work. I feel like she really gets what motivates kids.
What she's basically asking is to freak out millions of children.
Yeah, exactly.
To scare them. First of all, with the image of people fighting and dying overseas.
Yeah.
And then trying to believe that somehow because someone died in, Iraq or Afghanistan, that means that they can't use TikTok to talk to their friends.
Also, right. And I would be like, if you use TikTok, you're not going to be safe tomorrow night in your sleep.
Yeah.
In fact, what I would do is if I were a parent, I would put some kind of monster toy or something underneath the bed and tell them that TikTok put it there. Yeah. Maybe hire someone to play a monster and interrupt their sleep.
Anything for national security.
Yeah.
Feel about the United States of America. Maria, if we lose this country, where do we go? Where do they go? What's a better opportunity for the American dream than right here? So, we're pretty.
Where are you gonna go, Tommy? Where are you gonna go?
Yeah, Tommy, where are you gonna go?
You lose your country. Where are you gonna go?
Where are you gonna find that American dream, Tommy?
Yeah.
Maybe you should check under your bed.
Yeah.
Monster. Yeah.
I mean, like, what do kids do on TikTok? They make videos for themselves and their friends, right? So, if you make one more video, Tommy, of yourself in a gym class, you're gonna lose your country.
You're gonna lose your country, yeah.
I mean, again, I wish I knew more about TikTok. Unfortunately, I'm showing how out of touch I am on that. But the point is, this fear mongering is hilarious. And Governor Noem has more words of wisdom about the threat that China poses, especially to her home state of South Dakota.
Can you tell us about the CCP's behavior and efforts to buy up land in your state?
Well, they haven't got a foothold here in South Dakota yet, but we're determined to stop them before they do. Maria, South Dakota will be the home of the next generation bomber that will be protecting the United States of America for the next 25 to 30 years. We're excited that we were chosen to be the home of that platform, but also recognize the responsibility that comes with it. We're not going to allow China to purchase up land anywhere near that Air Force base so they can conduct surveillance on us or owned an asset that is within our borders that they could use to destroy the United States of America. I hope every state takes it as seriously as South Dakota has. We have been extremely aggressive on this, and we will make sure that they aren't purchasing our land. But I was the first governor to take action to ban TikTok here in our state, and we saw over 24 different states take action and Congress after that. So we're thankful that other people are waking up to how China is using all of its assets to conduct surveillance on the American people. They face,
including asset number one, Tommy.
They have a 2,000-year plan to destroy this country. They're very determined to do it.
You hear that? A 2,000-year plan.
Stalin had a 5-year plan. The Chinese had a 2,000-year plan.
2,000-year plan. So 2,000 years ago, China came up with a plan to destroy the U.S. before the U.S. was even founded.
Yeah. Well, they're like Gregory Becker in that sense. They're very prescient.
Yeah. Very prescient. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing foresight.
Yeah, it really is.
That's impressive.
I have an idea for Christy and others who want to instill patriotism in their children. How I was saying that they could put like monsters under their bed or something. Mm-hmm. So you could also do this. Hold on. If you put this guy under the bed, I bet it would really see this little President Xi toy.
Mm-hmm.
You put one of those figurines under the bed.
Yeah.
Just scare the bejesus out of Tommy.
Absolutely.
You blame Tommy for using TikTok.
Yeah.
For putting that little Xi under his bed. And I think I'll get the message.
Governor Noem is really
about that?
having a winning.
What do you
so let's hear more of
this. Safe and secure because of sacrifices that were made for this country, and that to respect that they should.
Aaron was just replaying that for any of the kids watching. Yeah.
Toolbox. That is why it is important that we wake up now and we stop their infiltration into our way of life.
Well, you are being tougher on the CCP than President Biden is, which is why we're constantly questioning this soft approach on this dominance from China. It's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the bomber, because that has been the path whether it's the balloon over our military installations where there are nuclear facilities or buying up land close to these military installations. What is the goal here?
Well, the goal is to control us and to destroy us. That China recognizes that the only way that they can have world dominance is to take out the United States of America. We stand in their path, and they will use their own enemies, such as Russia or North Korea or Iran, to partner in unique ways to destroy us. So we need to wake up every single day recognizing what they've been doing for generations.
So you guys, they're going to partner with Iran.
So the U.S. has hundreds of military bases around the world. China or some Chinese nationals are buying up land in parts of the U.S. and also a Chinese balloon inadvertently floated over parts of the U.S. And that's proof that they're trying to destroy us and the threat to America. But it looks like she actually believes that, which is just amazing.
How could you not, Aaron?
Yeah. Well, that's that is some interesting stuff. Another threat right now being fear-mongered about on cable news is Mexico, because there was just recently this incident in Mexico where some American citizens were killed by a cartel. Although the cartel apparently claimed it was an accident. It wasn't.
Yeah, they were caught in the crossfire.
It wasn't them. So Senator John Kennedy, a Republican of Louisiana, he came on Fox News Sunday to talk about that. But also first he wants to talk about his plans for Medicare.
There need to be conversations then about something, whether it's changing the age for people who are not yet paying into these benefits, future changes, current changes.
Well, of course we ought to talk about it. I mean, the life expectancy of the average American right now is about 77 years old. For people who are in their 20s, their life expectancy will probably be 85 to 90. Does it really make sense to allow someone who's in their 20s today to retire at 62? Those are the kind of things that we should talk about. There are changes in Medicare we should talk about. Let me say it again. Medicare pays much more for the same surgical procedure in a hospital as it does in a private outpatient clinic. Why?
I have a hard time believing that.
I mean, I like the idea that if you live longer, you should be working into your old age.
Yeah, that is what you get for living longer is more life of servitude.
Right.
You can't enjoy retirement. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be, it's easy to say you should work longer when you're a senator and your job is to, rule the world and make life miserable for people. I mean, that's fun for people like that, obviously, but not everyone has that opportunity.
Right.
Or wants to do stuff like that.
Or makes as much as a senator.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things we could talk about, but President Biden has taken that issue totally off the table. He says he has fixed it in his budget, and that's nonsense. That's nonsense on a stick.
It looks like that's going to be done through increased taxes, which I know Republicans are thumbs down on that. I want to ask you about the border quickly.
But it still leaves a shortfall. It still leaves $11 trillion shortfall. So when the president says I fixed the problem, with all due respect, he's not telling the truth.
Yeah, there is.
I don't think he's telling the truth about that 11 trillion, whatever the figure is shortfall. That strikes me as stretching the truth.
It's definitely a debt component to what he's proposing out there. That's pretty hefty. I want to ask you about the border because there's talk of taking cartels, designating them as foreign terrorist organizations. There's also talk about whether or not you get the U.S. military involved. Former AG Bill Barr's got a very interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal where he talks about if our country is under threat, we should have operations, including within Mexico. Where do you stand on that?
I think Attorney General Barr is correct. Look, the cartels, we know who they are. They're killing Americans on both sides of the border. And the fact is that the American military could partner with the Mexican military and the Mexican police, and we could wipe out the cartels. But
yeah, really, problem solved. Just wipe out the cartels. That always works really well.
Let's intervene in Mexico. Why not? We don't have enough interventions going. Let's go to Mexico.
Yeah,
sounds great.
And the war on drugs, of course, has nothing to do with this.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah.
No. Draconian sentences and also not providing
and
all those things. No, let's intervene in Mexico instead. That'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
Another Republican who favors intervening in Mexico is not surprisingly Lindsey Graham, who historically supports intervening everywhere.
Right.
So why not invade Mexico as well? We've been, because Lindsey Graham, we have a proxy war in Ukraine, which he loves. He was the guy who went over
to the last Mexican.
Exactly. He wants to fight to the last Mexican like he does in Ukraine. And so here he is speaking about why he thinks we should also get militarily involved in Mexico.
The Biden administration is pathetically weak on this issue. I've had it. The 4 people that were kidnapped, 2 of them were killed, were from South Carolina.
You guys, he's had it up to here. Okay.
I've had it with the idea that America needs to sit on the sidelines and do nothing about an invasion of this country of fentanyl being provided by drug cartels to the Mexican president. I would like to work with you to liberate the Mexican people from the scourge of drug cartels. I'd like to work with you to stop the flow of fentanyl into my country, our country, that's killing 70,000 of our citizens. And if you don't work with us, we're going to do it by ourselves.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Did you hear that, AMLO, the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, he's going to work with you. If you're willing to work with Lindsey, he was speaking directly to you. Now, if you don't work with him, we're going to do it by ourselves.
He's going to invade your country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to, are we moving on to the next clip?
No.
Oh, okay. Just really quickly, I want to update something we had said in terms of whether or not it's a bailout. So what happened on Sunday is that on Sunday, the Federal Reserve set up a special lending facility. So it is coming out from the Fed. It's not a bailout just like it was the way it was in 2008, but it is a massive government intervention. There you go.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A new approach.
Yeah.
Or maybe the same approach under a new name.
Tweaked. Yeah.
It sounds like a bailout to me, but
yeah, it is a bailout. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the way it was done in 2008. Why did someone write it's a bailout, Katie, as if I wasn't saying that? That's why I just updated us to say it was a bailout. Sorry, I didn't mean to read the comment. Yeah.
So
I get triggered when people put my name in something. When people say my name, it's so condescending. Where are we in the likes, by the way? How are we doing likes wise?
I think we're almost at 1,000.
Yes.
986.
Right, well, let's get to 1,000 right now.
Let's do whoever gets the 1,000th like gets to say happy birthday to Aaron even more.
Yeah. We get to 1,000 yet?
5 more. There we go. Happy birthday, Aaron.
Happy birthday, Aaron.
Thanks.
All right.
The gift I always wanted. 1,000 likes. All right. Another Republican is Nancy Mace, and just like John Kennedy of Louisiana, also wants to look at raising the retirement age. Why not?
About something your fellow South Carolinian Nikki Haley said. Obviously, she is running for president in 2024. She said this week that she supports raising the retirement age for people who are in their 20s when it comes to receiving Social Security benefits. Do you agree with her on that?
I think that's something that has to be on the table. We have to look at. I'm 45 years old. I'm assuming that Social Security will be insolvent, that I won't have retirement funds from what I put into in my adult life, my working life.
Well, why should she assume that? It's been assumed for so long that Social Security is going to go bankrupt forever. That's what we always hear. And both parties have pushed this line. But everyone who I've heard speak about this issue says that it wouldn't take much to fix whatever issue there is with Social Security. And of course, there's always the option of not spending tens of billions of dollars every year on the military, cutting maybe it's a little bit for the Pentagon budget.
It's, what's so great about this though? This is like, they just made, between Nikki Haley, Nancy Mace, and John Kennedy, they just made a Democrat campaign ad. Because remember, Joe Biden went after the Republicans for putting entitlements on the table. And all the Republicans were up in arms, including Republicans who had suggested getting rid of Social Security. And all the Republicans are saying that they never did that. They're never going to do that. You know, Rick Scott, who wanted to sunset these programs, said that. And now we have these Republicans basically saying that it is on the table. So the Democrats, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, I like the pun from commenter Caps Lock, who says Haley's vomit.
Oh, that is good. Yeah.
That's
what we should call cutting entitlements. Is Haley's vomit. Yeah.
That's very good.
That is very
good. I don't know why that makes you laugh so hard, but that's very funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's Nancy Mace. Let's move on to who do we have? Oh yeah, Congressmember Mike Turner.
Oh yeah.
He's not happy about this. He's not happy about this new peace deal that China just brokered between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
China did play a pivotal role in brokering this deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran in restoring relationships, a move that not only stunned Mideast watchers, but it also seemed to leave the U.S. on the sidelines.
Absolutely, and I think that, of course, is a reflection on the Biden administration. You know, when the president came in, he had very harsh words for Saudi Arabia. You know, at the same time that we were working with Saudi Arabia to try to strengthen their defenses against Iran, Iran actually attacked Saudi Arabia. Instead of this administration stepping forward and being a partner to Saudi Arabia, our ally, and working with them to defend themselves against attacks from Iran, they subject Saudi Arabia to a significant amount of criticism and were slow to react and respond to the military needs of Saudi Arabia. So it's not unexpected that they might look elsewhere for support. It certainly is very unexpected and certainly very troubling and disappointing that they would turn to Iran.
I want to turn to...
So Turner's mad at Biden for briefly vowing to make Saudi Arabia a pariah, which of course Biden totally backtracked on anyway. And now the upshot is Saudi Arabia makes peace with Iran. And people don't like that. People don't like peace. Not good.
Not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a threat.
Yeah. And now comes the blame game.
A threat. Yeah.
I love when these people reveal themselves. Like, it should be a great thing when these two big Mideast powers who have had, dangerous conflict, including direct allegations against the other side of supporting attacks against the other, make peace. It's a wonderful thing. But look, everyone in Washington is mad. No one's happy about it.
Yeah, because
they're mad at China for brokering it. They're mad at both parties, at both Iran and Saudi Arabia for doing it. It's like, peace is like, it's a sad day in Washington.
Yeah, the United States is like an insecure, middle schooler who feels left out.
Yeah.
And well, Aaron, it's all part of the CCS, Communist China suckage.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Senator Robert Menendez, he is the he is the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and going back to Central America and immigration issues, he actually has some criticism of the Biden administration when it comes to family detention, because the Biden administration is reportedly considering restarting the imprisonment of immigrant families.
Remember, Biden's most kept to campaign promise was made behind closed doors to donors, and it was nothing would fundamentally change.
That's right. Well, here he is following through on that.
You have been critical of the new changes in border policy that Secretary Mayorkas has done at DHS. What's the alternative, and what's your level of confidence in Secretary Mayorkas?
Well, look, this is not about Secretary Mayorkas. It's about the administration. The best part of the administration's immigration policy over the first 2 years is that they ended family detention, which proved to be a failure under both the Obama and Trump administrations as a way to deter individuals from coming. What we need is a comprehensive plan to deal with the border and what are the elements, the push and pull factors that bring people to this country. We need to have a surge at the border that deals with asylum officers, USIS, border security, that ultimately can process those who have a legitimate claim for asylum and to deport those who have no legitimate claim for asylum. We need to find legal pathways so that people don't surge to the border because they are fleeing. Because if my situation is I am in a country where staying means I will most certainly die, see my daughter raped or my son forced into a gang, I'm going to flee. Well, we need to understand that and deal with it. We need to work with Central American and the Mexican government to also be part of the solution. And lastly, we need to look at the question of temporary protective status in a way that ultimately helps us meet the challenges. The three biggest countries, by the way, Chuck, that are coming to the border now are Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. They are dictatorships, people fleeing those dictatorships. When the administration opened up a legal pathway for those fleeing, it dramatically saw the reduction. It's just an example of what you can do in a way that both is good for the border and preserves our nation as a nation that preserves asylum. But if not, if the administration does go down this path, I am afraid that the president will become the asylum denier in chief.
Asylum denier in chief. Wow.
So what Menendez says there, he says like the top countries that are the source of migrants in Latin America are Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. And what he doesn't mention, though, is that those countries also happen to be the target of the most murderous sanctions the U.S. has, which are aimed at destroying their economies.
Right.
And I mean, Cuba has been under a blockade for decades. Venezuela for many years, Nicaragua as well, because all these are leftist governments the U.S. wants to overthrow and destabilize, and he can never draw the connection between the policies he passionately supports, which is killing people in these countries by funding death squads and funding insurgencies and supporting sanctions, and migrants, people wanting to flee those conditions. He can never draw that connection.
Right. Yeah. Of course not. To be fair, I mean, I guess the one good thing is that he's advocating for these policies that would help people who are not from those countries. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, but
well, everyone fleeing conditions in Central America is fleeing as a result of policies he supports. Everybody.
Right, but but people. In other words, he's not just saying let's let in Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans.
Yeah, no, sure.
It's a low bar, I guess, but
But he supports all the policies that create migrants to begin with.
Right.
And he's a scumbag. He just is.
He's very corrupt.
Very, very corrupt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we do one more clip?
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
it's your birthday, Aaron.
Well, we haven't mentioned Russia yet. It hasn't really come up yet, but there's always an opportunity to mention Russia whenever you need a boogeyman. And Chris Krebs, who's a former U.S. official, now a cybersecurity expert analyst on CBS, he was commenting on some health provider breach in D.C., which, of course, he says could be the work of Russia.
What does the U.S. government need to do to protect?
Those were his great socks.
I mean, some of these staffers and lawmakers are at risk here. How do you protect against that? And is this a state actor? Is there any involvement?
It's not clear who the actor is.
Okay.
It's a cyber criminal. It's very possibly a Russian-linked cyber criminal. Russia allows a very pervasive environment and permissive environment for cyber criminals. It actually helps the kind of broader Russian strategic objective to undermine confidence in the U.S.'s ability to protect citizens. It actually brings a significant amount of revenue into Russia. But what happens next is kind of the question. So for one, some of the markets where Intel Broker was selling this information, they've actually deactivated the Intel Broker account, reportedly, in part because these markets...
All right, this is too boring. I just thought it was funny that it's always possible that you can tie everything back to Russia. Anything is possible when Russia is on the table.
CBR, Aaron, CBR. Could be Russia.
Could be Russia. That's right. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for joining us. To sign up and get bonus content from Useful Idiots, go to usefulidiots.substack.com and join us right after this show on Callin.
Yeah, we're going to see you right now. And you can also join us, find us on usefulidiots.locals.com. So all you out there watching Rumble, you can do that. And all you out there watching YouTube, join us on Substack.
And thanks everyone for the nice birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. It's great to be a part of this whole thing and to do this with you every week.
Thing.
Yeah. So thanks everybody.
All right. Bye everyone.
Bye.
And here I'm putting the link to the petition in there one more time because people asked. Copy link. Consider this a party favor from Aaron Maté's birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Bye
Bye
everybody.
everyone.